Yes, hello, Novello Nation. This is Aaron Novello coming to you with another episode of the Aaron Novello podcast. And with me today, I have a really special human. He's an awesome agent, broker, investor out of Hoboken, New Jersey. I have the good fortune of speaking to their company on a regular basis and leading prospecting schools. And I wanted to bring Mike Berney on the call because I'm imagining that he can add a lot of value for you guys and give you kind of a broker's perspective, right, with regards to this game and perhaps some things that agents could be doing to ensure that they're successful at it. So thank you, Mike. I really appreciate you being here with us today.
Aaron, let me just tell you right off the bat, you're my first. All right? I don't normally do this, but I'm coming from a place of contribution. You've helped us, and I'm helping you now.
That's terrific, brother. I love it, man. I appreciate it. And it's special to be your first, Mike.
And I feel special, too, to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Yeah, feelings mutual. So I guess we could just jump right in. Like if you could explain for the guests, how long have you actually been in this real estate game, man?
I've been in the game a long time. So I started in 95, so 25 years ago, just simply stumbling into the industry as a part-time agent. I had a full-time job in the city. I never thought I'd be in real estate, never planned to be in real estate, but I just decided I wanted to get into it, make an extra 200 or so a month to help, pay my car lease at the time. That was the goal.
That's awesome. So the goal is just an extra $200 a month,
right?
Pay for the car lease.
Exactly. That was the goal.
That is awesome. And then as time progressed, you transitioned from kind of an active agent, and you had a lot of success as an active agent, and then transitioned into kind of broker owner of Liberty Realty. Is that right?
Yeah. The 200 a month, that happened pretty quickly. And then, as you can imagine, then my goal was 200 a week. Then it was 200 a day, as a part-timer. And then things happened quickly. About 6 years later, Joe Covello, who's the president of Liberty Realty, great guy, we decided we wanted to open an office in downtown Jersey City. And he told me that I'd be the right person for the job. So pulled me out of the city, and I jumped right into managing, being a broker in 2001 for our Jersey City office. We were one of the first offices down in Jersey City as well.
That's terrific, man. So then it sounds as though you've been in that broker kind of owner capacity for an equally long period of time. I mean, it's been like 18 years, 19 years, right?
Right. Going 19 years now. Yeah. Feels like a lot longer.
So, and I guess I'm curious, being that you have this unique perspective, right? I share with people, I have this unique perspective of not only being an active practicing real estate agent, right? Being kind of listing properties every day, getting price adjustments, negotiating offers. But I also coach people, about 38 throughout the country. And so I'm on not only a player on the field, but also kind of like a coach on the sideline, watching people play. And it sounds like you've kind of been in both of those capacities as well. So being kind of now watching other people play the game, what are some things, like, let's say, like 3 common mistakes that you see agents make when they get their real estate license and they come to you and say, like, hey, Mike, like, I'm ready to be a real estate agent?
I can get into the mistakes, but there's really 3 things they need to do. They need to get out of bed early, put on professional clothes, and get their credit card out and get a coach.
Yeah.
That's a great start. But really, agents need to treat being a sales associate as a career. If you look at it long term, if you're in it for the long game, if you're in it as a career, you can do incredible things as an agent. If you're just in it for a job, to handle some listings of friends and neighbors and relatives every now and then, that's another story, and that's okay if that's what you want. But if you really want to succeed, you have to treat it as a career.
That's so interesting. I think that's beautiful advice, which is like, treating it as a craft. I know me and you, we have a very kind of commonality in that we appreciate excellence, and we both see it a lot in sports, right? We both like Tom Brady a lot, and I know you have. There it is, the man himself. I love it, bro. I
I knew
love
he'd
that.
get called in here.
Yep, and I know you got Mickey Mantle's bat behind you, so you know we really appreciate and admire, right, excellence, and particularly
Consistent.
sustained excellence. So I think
Yeah.
it's very interesting, like, you know, you, with all of your experience, basically saying to agents, like, listen, if you treat this as a craft, right, if you treat it as a profession, like a skill to be mastered, that you can really do incredible things as an individual sales associate, correct?
There's no barriers. I mean, I remember when I was in the city, there was barriers everywhere I went. There was a salary range. So for me, and it was very narrow. No matter how great of a review I could possibly get, I could only make X amount no matter what. And in real estate, okay, granted, you know, there's not as many paid benefits. There's not a guaranteed paycheck, and that's big. But if you put your mind to it and you follow a lot of the guidelines that we at Liberty try to instill, and what you're doing right now, Aaron, with so many of your agents, the sky is the limit. There's no one that can tell you, hey, you're in this salary range. This is all you can make. And if you're consistent, and that's really that you and I always talk about that being consistent. You could have a great month, you could even have a great year, but can you do that year in, year out? That's really what separates the top 1, 2, 3% of the agents. They're doing it
100%.
consistently.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000,000%. And I wrote down a few things here, like, you know, as you were saying that, I'm aware that there's no kind of security, you know, in our game, as you're mentioning, like a salary and benefits. There's only opportunities.
Correct.
And what's true is if you can get your skills to a certain degree, then whenever there's an opportunity that presents itself, there's a very high degree of probability, like 80, 90% of the time, I'm going to be able to capitalize on that opportunity. I've just created security for myself and my family.
Right.
Right. So, and then the other thing I think you mentioned, which is interesting, is this idea of consistency, right? Where real estate can provide for people, you know, the kind of commissions can be large, and somebody can do, I don't know, in your geographic area where the average commission is like 12, 15,000 bucks, they can do
Right.
5 or 6 deals
Right.
and just like make enough just to, like, you know, get by. And what I hear you saying is if you consistently don't treat it like an ATM machine that whenever you need money you just kind of pull it to get some money and then, you know, you do something else, but instead you consistently work, consistently do the activities that lead to income,
Right.
then you're not limited by this kind of income range.
Yeah, like one of our agents, newer agent too, closed a huge transaction and made an $80,000 commission.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, listen, you're starting from zero the next day. Like, do not go on vacation, do not
Yeah.
do anything, bank the money, buy some real estate, but just keep on moving forward because it's easy to get distracted. I mean, I'd be the same way if an $80,000 check just flew in like that. I mean, you're tempted. It's not easy to stay on that track.
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting that you say that because, you know, one of the things that I'm very well aware of is having enough reasons that would cause you to consistently continue to produce, you know, at that level. So, you know, if people were to follow me and to follow you really, and then watch us kind of work, they would think that we were broke.
Exactly. Well,
Right? They're
I
like,
think
dang man, like you're prospecting on a Saturday and then doing, like, you know, this podcast afterwards, and you have appointments after that. Like, you don't have to do that, right? Like, what are you doing, right? But
it's
it's just having really powerful reasons that cause you to not you know, get complacent, and not complacent from a materialistic perspective, but instead complacent just from an output perspective.
100%. It's interesting because everyone looks up to certain people as examples, as mentors, and the people I look up to, they got boatloads of money. They're doing tons of business. They own tons of real estate. They keep grinding. They keep working like they're broke. And I
Yeah.
say, man, they could just, you know, what are they doing that for? But that's the drive that makes them successful. And it's on every level, really. Maybe there's someone looking at me like saying, hey, why is Bernie still coming in early in the morning? Like, he doesn't have to. But I feel like I have to, no matter what. And I look at the people that are mentoring me, and I'm thinking the same thing. I'm thinking, why are they coming in at 6, 7 in the morning?
Yeah.
But you have to, that consistency is so important, that discipline, the accountability.
Now, I think you guys do one of the, because, now that I have the good fortune of, speaking to offices and kind of coaching, agents, 7 of which earn 7 figures, I'm being invited into these, real estate offices on a regular basis. And one of the things that you guys, I think, do an amazing job at is not only cultivating relationships. I think you guys are very intentional and purposeful with regards to that, but you also create this awesome culture of being proactive and sales skills. And you bring people like me in to lead prospecting schools and to train your agents. I'll be up there in a week doing a prospecting school and then teaching an advanced kind of listing presentation class. So I guess talk to me a little bit about that competitive advantage that you have, like how that developed over time and what that allows you guys to do in the marketplace as a company in terms of listings sold and things of that nature.
We realized a long time ago, and we were probably, not to brag, but we were probably one of the first companies in our area that recognized the importance of listings and proactively getting listings. And when I started in real estate, no one taught us this stuff. We kind of waited around in the office, did our uptime, got deals here and there, but we weren't, I'll call it, classically trained now to go out and proactively get business. And thank God we learned how to do that, because that's how we've survived. And there can't be anything more important in our business as brokers, as agents, to have listings, because we joke around, we say lister's king, but it's almost like having your store, you're stocking the inventory with listings. And the beauty of it is, it's not even really costing you any money like it would be for a jewelry store or
right.
A car dealer. They spend millions on inventory, stocking their store. We don't really spend any money on inventory. I mean, we have our overhead, okay? Not going to forget about that. But for an agent, it's your own personal store, and you're stocking listings here and listings there and listings there. And you could be out at your kids' soccer game, and you'll get the call on your phone, hey, got an offer on this listing. And then the game begins,
Yeah.
But you got to have the listings. So that's the culture we started. That's the culture we believe in, and we follow it.
You do 1,000%. And you spend time, energy, effort, and resources, which is rare, to really continue to infuse that into your agents. And, it reminds me of, those 4 kind of noble truths we talk about. And one of them being that all the leverage is on the listing side. And you guys firmly get that and create an environment for, the agents who choose to really take advantage of that and become dominant, listing agents in the marketplace.
And I'm glad you just said choose to, because I want to stress, we don't force this on any agents. We only provide the map, the roadmap on how to be successful getting listings. And we'll show a lot of different ways to get there. And it's up to the agent. We don't want every agent, all 300 of our agents, to be calling, prospecting. We don't want that. We want agents that love to sell. That's fine. And the agents that are prospecting, we really want them to be refined and be experts at what they're doing, because it is a craft that requires a skill set that has to be mastered over years, actually. Years. And you know that as well as anyone, right? People think it's easy. It is a skill that takes years to master, and if you can even ever master it.
That's right. Yeah. So, it's interesting because, when I'm role playing with people or they see me kind of, interact or during a training session, I gently remind them that what you get rewarded for in public is what you spend countless hours doing in private.
Right.
So like what they're seeing is the culmination of maybe like 15,000 hours worth of practice and actually doing the real thing.
Right.
Right. So it can sound super conversational because I've done it so many times.
Right.
And, what I think is interesting too is that, those agents, I'm curious from your perspective, I'm imagining that those agents who are implementing some form of active, proactive prospecting in their business are the ones predominantly who produce at the higher levels. Would you agree with that?
There is 100% correlation.
Yeah.
This is not fake news. This is the real deal.
Yeah.
Like, if you follow the skills and the systems that you and the Novello coaching and your training and Liberty Realty, if you follow the skills and the systems, for sure, it's going to correlate into building your business.
Yeah, like without question. Not like
Without
maybe,
question.
not possibly, not like, we'll see if it works out. It's very predictable and duplicatable.
100%.
Yeah, so I guess I'm curious because I'm imagining something else you deal with, which I think people could get some insight from your perspective. I've personally never kind of experienced this because I don't do this, but I'm aware some agents do, is they kind of hop around, right? From company to company. And they kind of imagine that if I change my t-shirt, like that's going to make like this huge kind of impact in the quality of my business, or they get caught up maybe like on splits and things of that nature. So I guess my question to you would be is what are some of the kind of mistakes or kind of inaccurate assessments of reality that agents make typically that you see with that kind of bouncing around or the selection process of a kind of firm to align themselves with?
We do see agents bouncing around, and I used to take it personal. I don't anymore. I understand it's business, and it happens with Apple. A top Apple IT person will go to Microsoft. A top Tesla person will go to Ford. It happens in every industry. What I would say the biggest mistake is, and changing the jerseys isn't always the right thing, like you say. I believe that. What I'll say is a lower split. Usually it's about a split, a commission split. It usually involves money. Sometimes you have to really take a step back and say, is a lower split at a Liberty Realty worth more than a higher split at XYZ? Is the support and the lead generation and the accountability and the training that I'm getting at Liberty Realty worth more than XYZ? And an agent has to believe that it is.
Mm-hmm.
And just like any company, we lose some agents, well, we gain some agents. We're all in the sandbox together. Hopefully we play nice with each other.
Yeah.
We try to. Look, I believe there's enough business to go around for everyone.
Yeah.
For the agents that are working, for the productive agents that are constantly trying to get better, working day in, day out, there's enough business for everyone. But changing the jersey, you really have to think long term about that. And we've had a lot of agents that have, not a lot, but some agents that have left Liberty and come back.
Yeah.
And if they leave on great terms with us, we'll always keep the door open. But that's happened too. So I think that agent just has to be very careful, think all their decisions through before they decide to change a jersey.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, man. And so I wrote down as you were saying that was, the mistake that they can make is they look at cost instead of just value.
Right.
Right. And the other thing that I think is interesting, and I'm curious to see kind of your thought on it, is what I see, and I mean this respectfully, right, and with love, is that some agents, instead of becoming better and adding more value so they can get more business, their thought process is how can I get more out of the little amount of business that I'm doing?
Right.
So it's a thought of contraction instead of expansion.
Right. And when we come across that a lot, and what we try to do.
Would you agree with that, by the way?
There's many agents that do that, and what we try to do is then we'll set a goal for them, right?
Yeah.
Look, we want you to get a higher split. We want to pay you more money because if we're paying you more money, you're going to be more productive, right?
Yeah.
So we want to get them to a higher level of productivity where we can pay them more. So in that case, we will say, look, we'd be glad to to meet your request for whatever it is. But you know, you have to hit this, and this by this, and this date.
Sure.
And we'll help you get there. You know, we're not going to let them, you know, sink out there. Like, we want to help them to get to that point where we can pay them more.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me.
So that's how we look at that.
Now, I'm curious, and that's awesome. I think people will get a lot of value from that, and really those distinctions and being clear on that.
And also,
now,
if I can add, if they come to us and say, look, here's what I have planned. This is why I am asking for this, because I am going to accomplish this. That's like gold to us.
Yeah.
You know, instead of just saying, I want this.
Yeah.
You know, tell me what you're going to do, where you're going to be, what the plan is.
Yeah, it's kind of like, makes me think of Jim Rohn, where he's like, you know, you can't get rich on demand.
Right.
Like, just because you like pick it and say like, I want more money, like you might get an extra $1 an hour, but like you're not gonna become wealthy doing that.
Right.
What's more productive is to figure out, you know, he also says like, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. Like what's more productive is to think about, how can I take responsibility for kind of my production level, and what do I need to do to actually become better so I can earn more money?
Right.
Would you agree?
And one of the things we would tell them is listen to Aaron Novello.
Yeah.
Right? Go online and listen.
For sure, man. I appreciate that. So now I'm curious, because I know we've also had some interesting conversations with regards to how our game is changing, because our game is very much so changing, right? And making sure that we stay at kind of the tip of the spear with regards to those changes. So I guess from your perspective, because again, you have a 25-year kind of cache of knowledge and of experience. And, you know, I'm imagining when you first started selling real estate, I mean, there was no like internet. I mean, you guys had books and had to do fax machines. I don't even know how you did that.
And the book came out twice a week.
Yeah.
The book came out every 2 weeks, the MLS book.
It's crazy, man. And that was a time where agents were legitimately the gatekeepers of all information.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And now that's rapidly changed over the last 5 years, and definitely over the last 10, and certainly over the 25 years that you've been in the game. So I guess I'm curious, from your perspective, what are the biggest changes that you've seen? And then what are some things that you think agents really need to be paying attention to as our game continues to change?
I mean, the biggest change is obviously the amount of information the sellers and buyers are privy to. I mean, we used to, like you said, we were the gatekeepers. Everyone had to go through us. But now all the information, and sellers know more than a lot of the agents right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they really do. They do their homework.
Yeah.
So information, so agents really have to know their market inside and out, because if they get quizzed by the seller and the seller knows more than the agent, it's not good.
Not good at all.
Good. And I would say, as for the agent, the biggest change that I see right now that an agent should be aware of is their online presence. And we talk about that all the time. And, you know, primarily I'm talking about reviews.
Yep.
And, you know, there's a couple of huge review sites that all sellers Google and find out about whatever agent they're considering using. I'd say 95% of sellers probably do that now. They want to know who they're getting involved with to sell like the biggest asset that they own. And we're, you know, at Liberty, we're constantly trying to build every agent's online presence and our own company too.
Yep.
And, you know, we're in a good spot right now, thank God.
You are, yeah. I know when you Google Hoboken Real Estate, you show up in the Google map search just organically. So I wrote down a few things, right? One is the value proposition of a real estate agent, you know, 25 years ago, even 15 years ago, even 10 years ago, was just part of it was being this gatekeeper of information. And now with these aggregators, whether it be Zillow or Redfin or Realtor.com or Trulia, they have taken all the information that we used to be the gatekeepers of, and they've given it to the consumers for free. So they're much more educated, and what happens then is that the information that we provide has to be better than the information that people can get just for free.
Right.
And here's my question to you, and I'm curious to your answer, and it's not a leading question, I'm genuinely interested. What percentage of agents do you think can actually provide better information than what somebody can get online?
It's not a high percentage.
Hey, I appreciate your honesty, man, and I think that's
and I'm not.
true.
I don't want to insult agents. I mean,
Yeah.
we have great agents,
Yeah.
but a lot of the agents, don't fully understand that they really need to be the expert, not just knowledgeable. Like they need to be an expert on the statistics that are happening, not so much nationally or even throughout the state, but locally. They need to know the absorption rates. They need to know how many listings are out there. They need to know comparisons to the previous months. They need all this because the seller's going to need that information. The seller's going to want to hear that information.
Yep.
And I would also, if I could throw out some advice to the agents, I'd say, it's great that you're number one since 2004 or whatever, and you were agent of the year in 2007. As a seller, you know what I want to know? I want to know what you've done in the last 6 months within 100 feet of my property.
Yeah.
Like if you can come to me and say, you know what? I know you're interviewing with so and so who's like a top agent, but did you know that in the last 6 months I listed and sold 7 properties within a block of your residence, and all of them were 2-bedroom, 2 baths like yours.
Mm-hmm.
And no one else has come close to me.
Yeah.
That carries a lot of weight. Like what you did in 2004 is fine. It's great that you have a nice career. It shows consistency. But what have you done lately? That's really what I want to know. How many listings you have. I want to know what's in your pipeline. I want to know how many under contract. I want to know how many closed. And really, I'm looking 6 months to a year.
That's awesome.
And in my neck of the woods, I want to know what you've done in my neck of the woods.
For sure. That's awesome, man. So I wrote down a few things, right? In terms of like that, our value prop as agents is we have to now, it's the tech and everything that's pushing into our game, whether it's these aggregators or this other stuff, which we might talk about a little bit, that's pushing in. It's forcing us actually to raise our game as agents, right? Forcing us to know more information, to be this hyper local specialized expert that knows, like you said, absorption rates, how much of the inventory is selling each month, that knows expires, like how many properties are expiring each month, knows, which we look at all the time because we have a great working relationship and I'm there regularly. You send me all these reports and we can see what's the listing to buyer ratio, how many listings are on the market to how many buyers are on the market, right? And this is all information that we need to know, so when we're on an appointment, it very clearly demonstrates that we are the expert.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. And then the other thing you touched on, which I think is spot on as well, is this idea of online presence. I find it super interesting, and no disrespect to you, right? But a lot of the people who play in this game, oftentimes they're older. I think the average agent is like, across the country is like 50 something, right? And their mental map of the world is just a little bit different. They're asking you for a business card. It's
right.
Like, well, what are you talking about, man? Like when was the last time Amazon gave you a business card, or like Netflix gave you a business, right? Like it just doesn't, right? So understanding that more and more and more, we're being trained as consumers to consult the internet prior to making a decision about products and services.
Right. And you still need to combine that internet presence with all the skills that you teach.
Yes.
I mean, if you don't have that, look, you need the internet presence, I believe, to get your foot in the door, to show credibility, right, who you are. But once you get in front of the seller, you have to know the systems, the skills, the mindset, the accountability. Like those are really 4 important things that we are constantly teaching here.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on there. So like with people going online more and more and being trained to do so, the question I ask myself is like, all right, well, is that going to slow down or stop? It's like, well, no, I mean, I don't think that's going to slow down or stop. So having those digital assets, one of which are reviews, and I'm constantly, we're always talking about that. Like, hey, Mike, what are you doing with reviews, man? We need more. We need more, right?
Right.
And I kind of mess with you a little bit how I'm one agent and I have more
I
than
know.
the whole company. So, but like continuing to recognize that it is important and it helps with conversion. It helps to demonstrate authority. It helps to demonstrate social proof. And having matching those digital assets, whether it be a nice website, lots of reviews, a pre-listing package that's a PDF that you can send to people, a nice video that has client testimonials, and recognizing that that alone isn't going to do it. I still need sales skills.
Right.
Because as the game evolves and it becomes even more competitive, that stuff will help me to stand out, but I still need the sales skills of being able to handle objections, pre-qualify, close, right? Actually get the documentation authorized. So it's a mixture of those two.
Right. And that's why you're coming back up here in another week. So
Yeah, that's exactly right, to share that with everybody. Now, the other thing I think is kind of interesting, which we've talked about before, is how some of these aggregators are beginning to, because like, here's the agent, here's the prospective buyer, and then the internet is getting in between, right? And we have a lot of these kind of, whether it be aggregators who have a lot of the eyeballs, like a Zillow or a Redfin and stuff, or these other companies that are taking referral fees, right? Like an Agent Pronto or Agent Machine or Effective Agent or Fast Expert. And I guess talk to me a little bit about how you see that kind of becoming part of this game and, how agents can deal with that.
I don't want to downplay what's happening in the market today and what will happen in the future. But I will say that when the internet started to become very big, we were supposed to lose our jobs 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of noise out there that we tell agents to just plow through, but in reality, there is a lot going on as well that we need to be aware of. Where Zillow's going to wind up, no one really knows. But look, just in our neck of the woods, right here, in the last 2 months, we had so many scares already, and we didn't know which direction they were going. Okay, so one, we had a politician they were passing a rule where in Hudson County, owners couldn't condo convert their properties any longer. They couldn't convert from apartment buildings to condos. Okay, that popped up. Within a week, we had the pocket listings from the NAR. They were going to take that away from realtors.
Yep.
Okay. Then we had in New York City, they took away the broker fee on rentals.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let brokers collect fees from tenants. Okay. Then we have rent control issues that are ongoing throughout Hudson County, New York. All these things are happening within a month or two. Okay. So the best plans that we make, we almost can't make right now. We just have to keep planning as if we're just going forward and working hard, getting listings, following the skills that I laid out before, which was systems, skills, mindset, and accountability, and keeping an eye on the Zillows and the Redfins and the whatevers to see what direction they're going in. Because the good thing about Liberty is, we can adapt. We're not a national franchise. We're a local business. So we can, Joe and I, we can make decisions on the fly. We can adapt to anything. I mean, think about this. You try to plan things out. You follow all the trends. Did any of the geniuses that a week ago, even 2 weeks ago, tell you, or did you hear anyone saying, get your money out of the stock market?
Yeah, no.
Did anyone, so now you have a coronavirus, right?
Yeah.
So all the plans that we lay out, all the trends we follow, and then you have a coronavirus come out.
Yeah.
So what direction are we going in now? Honestly, I don't know. We're going to wait and see, but we know that if we keep following the guidelines that we instill and we keep getting listings, we're going to weather any storm.
Yep. And I agree with you, man. And I love that message. And I think what's very interesting is I wrote down, like, as you were kind of speaking, is like one is just stay true to the foundations, those four noble truths we talk about, which is one, this is the sales business and be no different than selling books door to door, knives door to door, subscriptions over the
Exactly.
phone. And
Exactly.
as such, it must follow the same sales process. I have to prospect every day. I have, because a day not spent prospecting is a day not spent in business. I have to set appointments, which is a skill. I have to pre-qualify those appointments to make sure they have the means and the motivation to do something when I see them. I have to go and present and give them a compelling reason to choose me versus somebody else. I have to handle objections and close. And then if it doesn't sell, I got to lower the price. Like just understanding that that's foundational, it's not going to change.
Yep.
Understanding that the money's not in the service, it's in the selling of the service. So learning how to sell the service, right? And then, understanding all the leverage on the listing side, which you mentioned today, like kind of being focused in that area. And then you only get paid to do four things: prospect, lead, follow up, go on appointments, negotiate deals. So kind of following your plan and
Right.
creating leverage with regards to kind of administrative, so you can pull yourself out of that. And then the other thing I wrote down is a digital presence, all right? Being conscious of that, beginning to put that in place with the reviews, with websites, with videos, to give people a compelling reason to either meet with you or have you to cause to stand out and or to pay you more, right? Because there's perceived value, and as there's downward pressure, with commissions and such, like that creates perceived value. And then the third thing I wrote down is just recognizing that a lot of people are more and more going online, making decisions about who gets their money. So making it easy for people to find you in those places, whether it be the things that you've done, so you're showing up on those kind of Google Maps, whether it be on being on these referral sites and making sure all of your information's accurate, and you got lots of reviews there, and you've uploaded your pre-listing package, right? So that way you can get leads from those sources. And if you do these things, right, then all will be well. You'll continue to be well compensated. You'll continue to kind of thrive and
And
get a
and you
lot.
know, and really, like it, everything you said is true, but you have to do it day in, day out, week
Yes.
in, week out, month in, month out, right? That's the hard part. Is that you call it the voice in the back of your head, right? You call it the governor, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So just like with my running, and I know you run too. It's the voice is always telling me, yeah, you don't have to do it. Take a day off. You're tired. You stayed up late. You did
It's
a
cold.
million excuses, you
Yeah.
know. And it's the same with prospecting. With a lot of the top agents at Liberty, I give them a lot of credit because they're there grinding it out day in, day out, no matter what. It's the day before a holiday, the day after a holiday. If it's raining, if it's snowing, if it's hot, if it's cold, they're there, and it's inspiring. I have to say, I know part of my job is to inspire them, but also they inspire us by their consistency.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. And
Yeah.
and I wrote that down too. So if there was like a formula, right? For an agent, whether they be new or, kind of seasoned, it's that, okay, understanding this is a sales business and make prospecting the foundation of your lead generation. It may be marketing supported, but it's the foundation. Understanding that our game has changed from a digital perspective, so we need to be creating those assets, being on these referral sites so we're getting those opportunities, and then be consistent in the
Yeah.
activities on a regular basis.
And
And
I
it's,
also I would throw in there, Aaron, that it's you need to have somewhat of an ego to be in the business because there's a lot of rejection. Okay, but an unmanageable ego is not good either. Agents are not market makers. We're in sales. Just like you said, whether it's a car, whether it's a shoe, whatever it may be, right? We're selling. That's what we're doing. The market makes the market, not the agent.
yeah,
So we have to manage our egos as well and get out of our own way sometimes.
yeah, that's true. And there's a saying that says a man or a woman becomes a poor listener once they start to make money.
Right.
And
Right.
so, it's yeah, I feel like it's this dichotomy where like part of you has to be like, ah, like I'm the man or the woman, right?
Right.
But then there's this other part of you that has to also be humble and be like, I don't know everything.
Right. And that's okay.
And that's okay.
You
And
don't
being
have to know
inspired
everything.
by being in a room I'm aware that some of the value I can bring to people sometimes is that just I might be a little bit further along a journey that they've started,
Right.
and I can be kind of a like a standard for them. So my standard is so high that it causes them to raise their standard, right? But I'm also aware that I need to be intentionally and purposefully putting myself in around people whose standards are higher than mine.
Right.
So there's that dichotomy, right?
And we're kind of in the business of you set yourself up, and we're setting Liberty going to be successful without knowing everything that's going to be happening in the
Yeah.
present and the future. Like, we don't have to know everything, as long as we have the right skills and we have them in place, and we're getting up every morning, we're working hard every day consistently. We don't have to know everything. But
Yeah,
we do have to keep our finger on the pulse. We have to
we do.
anticipate, and we have to follow trends, and that's all good. But trends are only great when you're in the middle of the trend. You know, once the trend has stopped, if you're not following the guidelines that we have in place, then you could be in trouble. But while the trend is trending, everything's good.
That's true. I just wrote down that what you just said made me think about is that leaders anticipate and everybody else reacts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like paying attention, right? Anticipating, perhaps doing some things, putting some things in position that seem to be logical and make sense, but at the same time, following that kind of blueprint that we just mapped out, right? Which is prospecting based, digital presence, referrals, and then consistency. Now, the other thing I would propose too, which I wanted to talk to you about, because I know you are a very successful investor and you help investors as well, right? Invest in real estate. So I would propose part of this formula as well is you do all of these things and you start to see your income grow. And what I see, and I'm curious from your perspective, because I'm sure you've seen this a lot, I see it a lot for sure, that the tendency, not always, but the tendency for a lot of agents is just like any other profession that earns a high income, which is that as their income increases, their lifestyle increases in lockstep with the income.
Yep.
And then they don't have, ultimately, in the end, too much to show for it. I mean, they have nice stuff, but they haven't built wealth. And what I'm aware of is a critical component to all of this because, people say to me, they're like, my business. We've been kind of trained to say like business. And what I think is really true is that for most of us, it's really not a business, it's a service. And there's nothing wrong with that. We provide a world-class level service and we get compensated a lot if we're very good at it. But a business is something that I can physically step out of, and there's a professional team who manages it, and I can still make money from it, right? And there's nothing wrong with that model because I'm aware a lot of people, there's talk about teams and seems to be everybody should, the suggestion is everybody should be a team, right? And I don't personally believe that that's true. The only issue is if you're going to do the service route and do it in high volume and be the one who bangs it out, the only way that makes sense, the optimal way that makes sense is if you take a disproportionate amount of the money that you're earning and you're dumping it into assets that pay you money.
Right.
Right? Because then you've created a situation where there's a stream of income that stands right next to you, regardless of whether or not you kind of, produce. And it's also something that nobody needs to sell anything in order for you to make money, right? So talk to me a little bit about is that what you see lots of times with agents, right? As far as their income going up lockstep and perhaps not being the best stewards of capital. And then B, your experience, like when that light bulb clicked off for you, like, hey, you know what? I should probably be investing in this thing I'm helping people buy and sell. So talk to me about that.
I wish we had a couple of hours because I could talk for hours about it. And I know we don't, so it's hard to summarize it all quickly, but
Yeah.
it's something that we love to talk about. And we really believe strongly in, and I hope that if anyone who listens to the podcast will definitely carefully listen to this because it's so vital to long-term growth and wealth and equity building is to own real estate. And, I like to say that being in this business, and part of the reason I became an agent, and I didn't realize it so much back then, but now it's so huge. I call it the collateral benefit. The collateral benefit of being in this business. Lawyers don't have it, brain surgeons don't have it, rocket scientists don't have it, accountants, engineers. you name it. They don't have the collateral benefit that we have for being in the trenches in real estate and having first shot at any kind of investments that come our way.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we would lowball anyone or whatever. We're always fair in our dealings, but to have the opportunity to buy real estate, before anyone else is tremendous. It's a tremendous benefit, and that's why a lot of people go into the business. Let's be honest. But for us, we learned quickly that the only way to really truly build wealth is with real estate. And so agents you brought up, they're making money, they're increasing their lifestyle. It's risky business because simple things like estimated taxes, that could go by the wayside, right? They get a big commission and they don't take out 25 to 30%, right? But so we try to get our agents to think about investing in real estate. And what we do at Liberty, besides investing on our own portfolios, whatever, we also invest as a team, as a group. And Joe Cavello is great with that. We did 3 buildings in 2019. One of them has 31 partners. 31.
Does it really?
25 agents are in it.
Wow.
Minimum share is like 25,000. Goes up to about 100,000 a share. But we're getting crazy investments that it's such a great complement to their selling and renting business. It's another avenue, another stream of revenue that for years they'll have, and maybe forever if we don't even sell the building. But there's an exit strategy typically on our investments, and down the road they're going to make a chunk of change. And I mean, we just got out of one investment where it was a 6-year investment. The return was 300%. Was 45% a year. These are crazy numbers, and probably no one would believe it.
Yeah.
But it could only happen in real estate. I mean, I don't think you could do it in the stock market. I don't think you could do it anywhere else. We're smart about it. We're conservative about it. And I just can't stress it enough. If you're an agent, set aside some money and set a goal. Goal could be get involved in one property a year. And that could be by yourself, where you're 100% owner, or with many partners, where you're even a 10% owner. Do one property per year. In 15 to 20 years, you'll be very happy.
Yeah.
I know it's hard to think ahead that far, and that's a long time to think ahead, but you have to. It's not a get rich quick philosophy I'm throwing it out here. It's a long-term, planned, consistent process.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think if anybody, like you said, if you're going to take something from this kind of podcast, like that is such a nugget to where I think it's awesome on many fronts. One is it's very, very cool that as a company, like you're providing this opportunity for agents to come in on deals that you guys are doing. Because not only does it, create this kind of community, but also a culture of like, this is what we do. And we're in it together, standing side by side as partners on these deals. So not only are we helping people buy and sell, but we're owners, right?
Right.
So that's an awesome thing. And then this kind of guidance of, again, that word comes up, consistency.
Yep.
Is consistently setting aside capital so that way you're putting it into assets that over time will go up in value and ultimately create an additional stream of income for you when, perhaps 12, 15 years from now, depending on if you want to be that person that's in the game, so to speak, you've now created a situation for yourself and your family that you guys will be okay from a financial perspective.
I mean, we have strangers that we've never met that are paying down our debt. The properties are going up in value. The debt's going down. We have tax write-offs.
Yeah.
I mean, where else can you get this?
Right. And then if you refinance it, the money's tax-free. Like, it's just
you pull the money out, and now the interest rates. Who would anyone have thought the interest rates would keep dropping the way they are now? I mean, we knew they were going to come down, but now we're looking at almost record low interest rates.
Yep.
So, and we're looking at another downtick probably coming up.
I think so. Yep.
And what a great time to buy or sell or refinance.
Yep.
So
That's
we
awesome.
want everybody, and if anyone in your world has any specific questions about investing, you can put them in touch with me. I'd be happy to talk to them because we
Awesome.
love it so much. We just want to help people. We made a lot of mistakes ourselves over the years, and we don't want anyone else to make them.
Perfect. So let people know where can they find you, Mike?
Like my cell. Can I give the cell out, or
Of course you can. Yeah, go ahead.
201-396-8447 or M Berney, Berney at libertyrealty.com. And any friend of Aaron Novello's is a friend of mine, so glad to help out in any way I can.
Awesome, brother. Well, hey, listen, I sincerely appreciate you taking the time. Again, my intention in bringing people here is, first and foremost, to make sure that they can add value. You've definitely done that today. I think people will get a lot of value from our time together. And I'm also super excited to see you in a week and spend time with the company, do that prospecting school, and do that advanced training on the listing presentation. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate, our professional relationship. And you're the best, man.
Thank you. I hope I could help. And it was always a pleasure talking with you, Aaron.
Awesome, man. Hey, you're the absolute best. I'll see you soon, okay?
Got it. Thanks a lot.
See you then.
Bye.